So there's this concept in this book called Beautiful World, Where Are You? Where it's talking about the idea of being obsessed with beauty. I know we agree that civilization is presently in its decadent, declining phase, and that lurid ugliness is the predominant visual feature of modern life. But not the way you think, not about looking at something that is beautiful like a face, necessarily. It's talking actually about appreciating the beauty in little things. Our quality of life is in decline, and along with it, the quality of aesthetic experience available to us. The author is explaining different concepts of philosophy, of ethics, and moral debates through these letters that, well, actually emails, these two friends are writing to each other. I want to explore New York City through the ideas that are in this book of Sally Rooney's characters. I want to be able to appreciate the little things. There's one line about being the instrument and the world is playing you. Not in a bad way. You're letting things happen to you and you're letting the world be absorbed into you. It's a bit like main character energy, like you're experiencing life to the fullest. And I think one tiny way to experience life to the fullest, while also admittedly being a little obsessed with the idea of beauty, is to take pictures of New York City and what it has to offer. So what I'm trying to do with this is appreciate the little things, find beauty in the little ways of everything here. Every day I'll try to take videos of things I find beautiful, and I want to look back at this time because it's going to be kind of like a pivotal moment in my life, moving to New York City, and think about what I used to think and see and just be able to remember what it was like. Not me exiting immediately after someone who lives in that building came out of the door. I have my phone, which doesn't have a tripod since I'm lazy, but you could call it minimalism. I have my camera and a book which serves as a prop and entertainment, a Cliff Bar for when I struggle to find a vegan-friendly food place. Just now I went to, I think it's called McNulty's tea shop, because they have this really good tea that I've been drinking for the past couple of months called China Rose Black Tea. And it's very cute on the inside, like they display the tea very nicely, and I think even me drinking tea in a way could be a part of this, like wanting to appreciate the little things you have, really being in the moment. Also, I think that's one of the reasons I really like live events and concerts. When you're there, like you don't think about your phone, you don't think about the work you have to do, like maybe you do, but I feel so present in that moment that I don't want to think about those other things. I'm not lured into thinking about those things, I guess, because I just feel so engaged in that moment. And more with social media and using your phone, like I find those moments harder to come by. I want to experience them more. I actually want to feel like I'm living my life. I don't want to feel like I'm missing out on something I don't even want to be at. Essentially, I'm finding the beautiful world these characters are looking for. Now I'll finally stop narcissistically posing with the book and quote what's inside. Our quality of life is in decline, and along with it, the quality of aesthetic experience available to us. The contemporary novel is, with very few exceptions, irrelevant. Mainstream cinema is a family-friendly nightmare, porn funded by card companies and the US Department of Defense, and visual art is primarily a commodity for oligarchs. It's hard in these circumstances not to feel that modern living compares poorly with the old ways of life, which have come to represent something more substantial, more connected to the essence of the human condition. This nostalgic impulse is of course extremely powerful, and has recently been harnessed to great effect by reactionary and fascist political movements. But I'm not convinced that this means the impulse itself is intrinsically fascistic. I think it makes sense that people are looking back wistfully to a time before the natural world started dying, before our shared cultural forms degraded into mass marketing, and before our cities and towns became annoying employment hubs. Is it sad girl autumn yet? That's like a freaking dream right there. Like, I mean, even stuff like that, like, I also just like love the sound of leaves falling down and crunching, and the colors, like, it's turning cold, but there's so many other things you can appreciate with that. So kind of what I want to do today is use photography as a way to see the world more beautifully. And I mean that with like total genuineness. I'm just adding irony so that no one will make fun of me for this. There's a really big struggle in wanting beauty for the sake of status and self-confidence and self-worth versus wanting to have beauty around you for just appreciating it for what it is and being able to find beauty in the things that are already there. I'm not a fan of winter, but it also, like, sometimes you get in the cozy vibes and you want to like curl up indoors, but you also gotta go outside and see what wherever you are has to offer you, and I am in a place that has a lot to offer, so I'm gonna try to capture all of that as the truck passes by very noisily. Okay, I found this little garden and I'm like maybe this defeats the purpose of trying to shoot in New York City when you just pick the one place without buildings and stuff, but here is a little garden and I'm gonna try to shoot some stuff here. I still think of myself as someone who's interested in the experience of beauty, but I would never describe myself, except to you in this email, as interested in beauty, because people would assume that I meant I was interested in cosmetics. This, I guess, is the dominant meaning of the word beauty in our culture now, and it seems telling that the meaning of the word beauty signifies something so profoundly ugly. Oh, in case I haven't said, here's my fit. I'm wearing a sweater with Uniqlo heat tech underneath for the winter and a turtleneck, and I have this summery dress under, and then I'm wearing actually sweatpants with some 2 layers of socks, one of which is heat tech from Uniqlo, and combat boots I've owned for like 3 years that I love, that are originally from Nordstrom. Having thought about it just now, I think the beauty industry is responsible for some of the worst ugliness we see around us in our visual environment, and the worst, most false aesthetic ideal, which is the ideal of consumerism. This angle isn't so great, so I think I'm gonna have to do better. All its various trends and looks ultimately signify the same principle, the principle of spending. To be open to aesthetic experience in a serious way probably requires, as a first step, the complete rejection of this ideal, and even a wholesale reaction against it. Which, if it seems to require at first a kind of superficial ugliness, I like this one a little more. I really like these shadows of the leaves, it makes it a lot more interesting. A kind of superficial ugliness is still better by far, and more substantially, quote, beautiful, than purchasing increased personal attractiveness at a price. Of course, I wish I were personally more better looking, and of course, I enjoy the validation of feeling that I do look good. But to confuse these basically autoerotic or status-driven impulses with real aesthetic experience seems to me an extremely serious mistake for anyone who cares about culture. Have the two things ever been more widely or deeply confused at any period in history before? Alright, on a minor side note, where do all these people that are taking pictures put their stuff? I know there are some people that can leave their house with like chapstick, their wallet, phone, and that's it, but I literally, that's all I brought today, and a water bottle, which is my main source of weight, and like my camera, but like I have a backpack, like with this it kind of blends in because like you don't see it with this, and even if you saw it, it's like who cares, right? But how are these people like walking around like minimalists? I don't understand. That's like an evergreen struggle in my life, and I almost wonder, like, is that part of like this minimalist trend to not want to carry around this bulk with you, or am I just onto nothing? So I think, oh my god, it's so loud. I think number one tip is try to find a place that doesn't have so many people if you care about running into people, which a lot of people will. Not running into people, you know, I just mean like humans in general. And then find a place where you think you could create... Find a place where you think you can create some interesting pictures and appreciate what is around you the most in. And why is it so dark? Tip number 2, don't make eye contact with any of the people staring at you. It'll just make it worse for everyone, for you, for them. They're wondering what the heck you're doing. You know, while I was shooting these pictures and I had propped up my camera on like one of these handrails. Actually, like someone was shooting someone else on a camera, and then they passed me and they're like, what is she doing? Like, they were very confused what I was doing, and you know, I would be too, but you see the camera, you know what I'm doing. People are gonna stare out of curiosity, and am I gonna see them again? No, so I don't need to be that concerned about it. It's just a little awkward, I guess, to pose in front of them and be exposed like that. Culture and beauty. People our age used to get married and have children and conduct love affairs, and now everyone is single at 30, lives with housemates they never see. Traditional marriage was obviously not fit for purpose, and almost ubiquitously ended in one kind of failure or another, but at least it was an effort at something. and not just a sad, sterile foreclosure on the possibility of life. Of course, if we all stay alone and practice celibacy and carefully police our personal boundaries, many problems would be avoided, but it seems we'll also have almost nothing left that will make life worthwhile. I guess you could say the old ways of being together were wrong. They were, and that we didn't want to repeat old mistakes. We didn't. But when we tore down what confined us, what did we have in mind to replace it? I offer no defense of coercive heterosexual monogamy, except that it was at least a way of doing things, a way of seeing life through. What do we have now? Instead, nothing. And we hate people for making mistakes so much more than we love them for doing good, that the easiest way to live is to do nothing, say nothing, and love no one. Alice in response to Eileen on beauty. What exactly do you mean when you say beauty? You wrote that to confuse personal vanity with aesthetic experience is a grave mistake. But it is another mistake, and maybe a related one, to take aesthetic experience seriously in the first place. No doubt it's possible to be moved in a personal, disinterested way by artistic beauty, or by the beauty of the natural world. You seem to think that aesthetic experience is, rather than merely pleasurable, somehow important. And what I know now is, important in what way? I'm not a painter or a musician, for good reason, but I am a novelist, and I do try to take the novel seriously. Partly because I'm conscious of the extraordinary privilege of being allowed to make a living from something as definitionally useless as art. But if I tried to describe my experience of reading the great novels, it would not be remotely like the aesthetic experience I've described before, in which no volition is involved and no personal desires are stirred. Personally, I have to exercise a lot of agency in reading, and understanding what I read, and bearing it all in my mind for long enough to make sense of the book as I go along. In no sense does it feel like a passive process by which beauty is transmitted to me without my involvement. It feels like an active effort, of which an experience of beauty is the constructed result. But I think more importantly, great novels engage my sympathies and make me desire things. But when I read books, I do experience desire. The point is that my sympathies are engaged. I'm no longer disinterested. I'm at the Met now. I know that the book is trying to introduce a new way to look at beauty, and even questions the concept of appreciating beauty. Is it frivolous? Is it random? Should we rely on it to bring us happiness? I think that's what's so funny about finding your surroundings beautiful to begin with. You don't control what's around you, but it can change so much of how you feel. So what I'm trying to do is find the beauty, not just in a physical sense, where I normally may not find it. Like the beauty in waking up at the exact time of the sunrise. Like the beauty in this milk going in this tea so beautifully. Like the beauty of hot water on a cold day. And I'm such a hypocrite for photographing myself in this environment, an environment I can only exist in because of privilege. I'm on the quest to find beauty, but it's not like I have to search that hard in New York City when I specifically go to the wealthiest areas. I'm photographing myself while I say that I want to see NYC beauty, and not the quote beauty in faces. I'm photographing the places where there are transplants and trust fund babies, where the skinny white influencers take their Instagram pics. I demand to be in the photos in makeup, wearing a nice outfit, styling my hair. What does this say about me as I'm trying to go beyond the capitalistic definition of the beauty of consumerism? It says that I'm not perfect. I'm questioning where I stand and who I am. One person, certainly not me, not today, isn't going to change the entire system that makes the world go round. And sitting back reading about Marx and anti-capitalism isn't fixing the world. Maybe it just makes me feel better than other people. So I can go on and write a book, make money, and be a part of the system I started out questioning.